Good morning. Thanks for joining us this morning. I knew I was coming to an academic and industry conference when I saw the agendas for this thing, and I was an MBA. I was sort of impressed with everybody's academic credentials coming into the room, and to see people talking this morning has sort of always blown my mind, the biotech industry here in Georgia, the kind of talent we have. Was asked to talk this morning and put together a group of folks to cover entrepreneurial training programs in Georgia, and I really appreciated Mike Cassidy's comments about the history of really the biotech industry here in Georgia. I've followed it for a good bit of my career and interests. I think we're going to switch gears a little bit and talk about maybe what has been a missing piece of the story here, which is the number and population of entrepreneurs in this community that will take it upon themselves to build businesses. I think we've got all the great institutions, we've got all the great bureaucrats, we all know how to make industry associations and funds and all the infrastructure you need around these things, but I think we're still short on the people that will take it upon themselves, the entrepreneurs. So my name is Jack Tillman. I work here at Emory, build, buy, and sell things for Emory. Have been instrumental in some of these activities as it relates to building the entrepreneurial capacity here at Emory. And I'm excited to do my best to manage this panel of experts and practitioners. We've got Charlie Goetz, who's an accomplished serial entrepreneur, teaches here in our business school. He was actually a business school professor of mine back in maybe 2004.
And he did well.
Remember those days well. I got an A on my business plan I wrote. Didn't pursue the business plan. I took the mild affluence pledge, and I went off and got a job. James Lillard, who is a bioimmunologist and entrepreneurial administrator at Morehouse. I know him through that world.
And a Charlie Goetz student as well.
And a student of Charlie Goetz. Well, everybody in the room is going to have to declare their Charlie Goetz. Maybe it's you, Charlie. You're going to teach us better. Yeah. Pam Bhatti, who's at Georgia Tech, she's instrumental in their NSF efforts and as well as the undergraduate efforts. Has a background in industry as well as academia. I think gives us a good perspective. Bob Pinckney, who comes from the University of Georgia. Bob is a businessman and is currently running the entrepreneurship programs for UGA. And then we're going to wrap up with Nicole Morris. Nicole is an actual lawyer. I thought she was recovering, but she's for real. She teaches here in the law school at Emory and runs the Tiger program, which is a really interesting joint program of Georgia Tech and Emory. So I want to start with a handout that's in your seats. Maybe you saw it, maybe you didn't. It's a one-pager list of really the entrepreneurial training programs in Georgia. And where I sit, I'm in a world where a lot of people come and say, if we only built a program like this, or if we just got this thing, then we could solve all our problems. We have a bunch of programs, folks. There are no shortage of resources for people that want to take it upon themselves to build enterprise. And so look at that list, and the next person that says, what if we go win a grant, or what if we build the next thing, just pull out that list and say, well, here's kind of something that's close enough, and why don't we just go build a company and have that be the response. So please do that. I think that would help all of us in the room. Our panel is going to be pretty open-ended here. We're going to do our best to keep it conversational. We've got 5 experts, 5 educators, 5 practitioners, people that really know what they're talking about in this space. Some of them have slides. I think we're going to try and keep our time short so we can all get through the program and get to lunch. I'm going to turn it over to Charlie first. Charlie, if you want to stand or run us through your talk.
You want us to take my seat?
Yeah, go ahead.
Where's the clicker? Oh, here's the clicker. Hello, all. Hope you're doing well. Thank you for coming today. What I was asked by Jack is just to give you a quick little overview about entrepreneurship. I know everybody's heard the terms, but I just wanted to give you a little quick one. And it's not working. Never mind. First of all, there's 2 types of entrepreneurs. There's the type of entrepreneur who is a lifestyle entrepreneur. Somebody who's just interested in building a business, who really is not interested in selling it, who just wants to have a nice income each year. Then there's the one who basically wants to grow it and sell it. And these are the 2 types. Everybody thinks of the second one. Everybody thinks of Steve Jobs and all those famous people, all the billionaires. But not all the businesses by any means are billionaire type of businesses. When we talk about entrepreneurship, when we talk about anything in life, it always starts, business world starts with needs and wants. For all intents and purposes, these are the atoms of entrepreneurship. If there's not a need, if there's not a want, then there really is no reason to be building a solution. There's no reason to create a product, and there's no reason to create a business. But the type of needs, the level of those needs, it becomes critical. And we call them priority. And you need a high priority. Are you building a solution to somebody who really needs it? Because if they only kind of need it, it's not going to be a very successful business. So you want to make sure you're solving high, important level problems, okay, or wants of people. Where do the ideas come from? Where are all these great ideas coming from? The vast majority of ideas, no matter whether it's in technology or biotech, they really come from what's already out there, but they're improved in some way. And the truth of the matter is, the businesses that are most successful are modified businesses. They're not totally new ideas, because totally new ideas tend not to be as successful. They take a lot of money to educate. They take a lot of time. The ones that have the highest level of probability of success, not necessarily the billion-dollar ideas, but the probability of success, come from ideas of products or services that have just been improved in some way to make it better for your marketplace. But in everything, we have to do our homework. And it's surprising how few companies actually do their homework to the level that is necessary. We've got to ask the customers. And in your case, who are your customers? Okay, are the customers the end users? Are they the patients or somebody who's going to be using some of your products? Or is it the pharmaceutical companies? Bottom line is we need to find out what the market wants. And we need to do research. We have to do surveys, or we have to do focus groups, whatever the tools that we want to use to do that, we have to think about. Which brings us to another thing. In every other class you've ever taken, okay, in any school, the number one thing you got graded on were your answers. Entrepreneur is different. Entrepreneurship is not about answers. Entrepreneurship really is about questions. The good questions and how to think about things in a different way. And that's what we want you to be thinking about when you think about how to look at a business. How do you see it differently? And what kind of questions can you ask to give you a different perspective? Because that will be valuable for you. When you build a business, you need barriers of entry. You're all familiar with patents, but there are a lot of other barriers of entry that we can use. Okay? Am I on the right one? Yes, I'm on the right one. For example, besides patents, we can use things like trade secrets. What's a trade secret? Well, Coca-Cola is the famous company for trade secrets. Coca-Cola is not patented, it's trade secret. It keeps it secret because they found that that would be a better alternative for them than patents. So maybe the benefit, I guess, of patents is that it makes the business more sellable, but there's also a benefit, on the other hand, of trade secrets and also just having special knowledge that other people don't have. Am I missing something? I can't read that. Okay. We talk about business models. I'm giving you a really quick overview. What is a business model? A business model is how a business makes money. But all businesses don't make money the same way. Okay? For example, years ago, the most common business model was a retail business model. The retailer bought something for X dollars, and they sold it for 2X, and that's how they made money. Well, lots of things have changed in the last 20, 30 years. For example, HP printers. I don't know if you know this, but you buy your printer cheaper than what it cost them to make it. Why are they so nice to give you the printer free? Because they know at $50 a cartridge, they're going to make it up very quickly. Okay? So that is a different approach to it. Google. Anybody ever use Google? Ever heard of it? Well, in the case of Google, okay, how do they make money? Well, they actually provide a free service to all of us. That free service says, you want to do search out there? Come to us. Any kind of information you want, we'll be glad to give it to you absolutely free. Why are they doing that? Because when you go on this search page, you might not realize it, but what comes back on the search page is about 85% ads. And each time you click on something that's an ad, they make money. So they're giving away something to get something in return from the business side. Last one is something like Priceline. Everybody know Priceline, okay? Priceline makes money by selling products that are basically running out of time. For example, a seat on a plane is worthless the day after the plane took off. Okay, same thing with a hotel room. So they're doing expiring inventory. So you have to think, what is it specifically that your company is going to do differently? And does it always have to be the standardized model? Because there are so many different types of business models to think about. Okay? management. The person who's necessarily a great developer, are they necessarily a great manager? Frequently, those are the people become the CEOs of the companies. But what skill sets does the individuals need? Okay, what are the specialties? Well, one of the things we'd like to talk about is the need for a board of advisors. You need somebody with connections in your industry. You need somebody who can source money. And you can bring on these individuals, okay, to help your business. And if they're excited about your business, you can sell them on the business. Then they can help you get the connections to funding, get the connections in the industry that might help your business. And they have probably done it before, so they can be very advantageous too. As far as money, anybody need money? Everybody have enough money? No? Everybody? Okay. Well, there's lots of ways to get money. There's equity and there's debt. Okay? We have probably too much debt, but equity basically is where people put money into your business to get ownership in your business. Okay? It can come from friends and family. Okay? But there's only so much money unless you have very wealthy family and friends. Okay? There's something called angels, and there's there are thousands of angels in Atlanta. Okay? Bob and myself are angels in Atlanta. We look to invest into businesses, okay, that are starting up to help them. And a normal investor would, for an angel, would be anywhere between $50,000 to maybe $250,000. But if you get enough angels, you can get your business going. Then you get something called venture capital. Everybody heard of VCs or vulture capital. Vulture, okay? What VCs basically are companies that raise money to put together a fund to invest in about 10 different companies. But normally they're not going to invest unless it's $3 to $5 million minimum. Okay? As far as debt, well, we can do credit cards. And by the way, lots of businesses are started on credit cards. The last number I saw was over 70% of small businesses are started on credit cards. You could take a second mortgage on your house, or you can get personal loans and so forth. One of the things that we've done at Emory recently is something called the Raise Forum. Just started this last year at the business school, where we recognize in Atlanta that there's a shortage for healthcare companies who are looking to raise money. It's not all that hard to get that initial angel funding. But then there's a point where you need $1 million to $5 million. And in Atlanta, we're not very good at finding sources for that. You want to go to California, you want to go to Boston, you want to go to Minnesota, great. But those places are going to ask those companies to move up to them. We're trying to keep companies here in Atlanta because these companies are going to grow. And the number one source of new employment is entrepreneurship. So what we've done is help companies in healthcare area raise money. And that's what we're doing right now. So if that fits some of your criteria, we'd love to do it. I think it's your turn, Jim.
Okay.
Just previous student, I can be nasty.
Actually, if you were a student of Charlie Goetz, could you raise your hand?
Oh, God. So, there we go. Move over. I don't want you to have to.
So that's a tough act to follow. Following Charlie Goetz would be a tough job for anyone. I'm going to give you an idea, kind of discuss some of the steps we went through at Morehouse School of Medicine to build on our life science entrepreneurship programs. Understanding that, we had a limited budget, smaller in size and scope in terms of compared to, say, Emory or Georgia Tech, we took things a different route. So about 6 years ago, we started in a more formal way our tech transfer program. And since that time, we've established about 9 different startups over the year in different stages that have raised, approaching $30 million so far. This is just a snapshot of Morehouse School of Medicine. Approximately 200 clinicians, faculty as well as residents, another 75 to 100 scientists. Tying what's unique, I think, in our comparative advantage is Morehouse focus on health disparity sciences. So we're looking to lead the advancement of reducing health disparities and creating health equity.
James, where do you find entrepreneurs in your work? I mean, you run tech transfer for Morehouse, right?
Well, they come from our faculty.
And what about the community? Because we have a lot of faculty in this community.
Unfortunately, I think this was brought up earlier about some of the obstacles we face in our ecosystem here. I think our bench in terms of life science managers, management, executives, could have a deeper bench. And I think that's the biggest deterrent we see in terms of limiting our space, or how successful we could be. So I wanted to point out one of the training programs, which this is an important fact, actually. The ACTSI funds the Kauffman Fast Track Tech Venture Program. Myself and a number of other faculty that have startups have participated in this. I've found it very helpful. And it does a pretty deep dive, and so I'm a professor. I like engineer, scientist, so I like the academic rigor of things. So it really goes systematically and approaches step-by-step, 10-point fashion of how to march through and start a business based on a technology.
How many people in the room have either been through or heard of Kauffman Fast Track?
Yeah. So we could probably do a better job of that, get more release. We've also benefited significantly from Georgia Research Alliance's Ventures program, what's called Venture Lab. You know a lot about that. They have different funding mechanisms to essentially they're de-risking a technology along the way from both technology and its regulatory feasibility. Proof of concept is also very important, and they provide funding along the way. Now, some intangible things that they offer is the know-how. I really benefited significantly from the feedback we received from the directors, which used to meet pretty frequently, led by Lee Herron. So we had many passionate, heated discussions. Todd Shear in particular, I remember Kevin Lee. Sometimes they would go nuclear, but it was all focused on improving and de-risking technology, and creating university startups. Briefly, wanted to address what we use also to de-risk the technology, and essentially we're improving the value of this asset, of our assets here. The SBIR, STTR program, STTR funds, both of these awards are awarded to the company, but different percentages will go to the university startup. Pretty big program and growing. These are the last facts I had for 2013. It's probably close to $2.5 billion by now. And some of the largest programs are Department of Defense and NIH, of course. They even have some of the institutes have a phase 3 commercialization stage where we can really accelerate things and help you with partnering with your startup with, say, a partner like a Merck or Janssen. And not so recent. I guess last year about this time, it was noted how effective the NSF's I-Corp program was, Innovation Corp's program was. And I won't go into detail about that, but it's essentially a biotech or technology immersion, entrepreneurial immersion program that does a deep dive as well, where you partner with a technical leader in your company, business leader, and what's considered a content expert in the field that does a good job. And with some of the phase 1 and phase 2 awards focus more on the research strategy, development path. I think I-Corp does a good job of really focusing on the commercialization plan. And I think you'll hear more about this from Dr. Bhatti may address, so I'll move forward. So I'll skip that. Yeah. So, using some of those tools, we've managed to secure close to $2 million in SBIR and STTR funding. One of the startups, unfortunately, left Georgia. In Pittsburgh. They completed a Series B round, and total fundraise was around $26 million. But with the awards from SBIR and others, we're able to move the technology forward. I won't go into detail on this. I would point out that among those that have been awarded GRA funds, Giant Technologies, and even 4D Genome may not have received funding from GRA. the feedback was really helpful in getting funds from some different SBIR programs. So, that-
Do you want to just talk from the panel?
Sure, sure. So you don't have to keep moving? So, do you want to give me the clicker? You want
That's going to cost
I'm good either way.
Keep going that way.
So, well, I have the privilege of talking about what we're doing at Georgia Tech with students in terms of creating, really tapping them into the entrepreneurial system there. And so the CreateX program was started about a year ago. And it is a way for Georgia Tech students to learn about and build entrepreneurial confidence. And so really what we want to do is add to the level or kind of the skills that Georgia Tech students bring into the workforce, as well as give them the means to commercialize their ideas. And so it consists of three main components. And the first component is more like, it's very kind of classroomy in the sense that we teach them how to do customer discovery. So what Charlie talked about earlier in terms of, is there a need? Is there an interest? How do we teach students to go seek that out and to ask questions? And believe it or not, it's hard for engineering undergrads, for some, not all, to ask very open-ended questions rather than bring in a piece of hardware and say, do you like it or do you not like it? This is really seeing where the needs are and trying to build something to meet those needs. So that's the second step, is the invention to prototype step. And then they can progress along after they're given funding to develop a prototype. And then if they really gain traction with their idea and their project, they can spend a whole summer really going through the translation process, and that's startup summer. And so if you see the numbers, just in the first piece of that, that's 3,000 students in 1 year. And that's about a quarter of the undergrad population at Georgia Tech. So this is an optional course, however, there's a lot of interest in this type of training, really. And so I wanted to bring up, I guess, a recent success at Georgia Tech. And this group went through the invention to prototype phase, and I have the privilege of being their faculty mentor. And they have a fairly simple product where they have a helmet embedded with sensors. However, what they've done with that is amazing. They took their idea, they developed it, they deployed it, so they worked with fire personnel and they tested it in the same way that fire personnel get trained and they learn how to use their equipment. And what the nice thing about this is that this team and others are very confident. So they don't worry about always getting an A or always having all the answers, but they have the confidence to pursue something based on their own interests. However, because it's done in an academic setting, they are mentored, they are coached, and they are allowed to fail. And that's something that Georgia Tech, or many students, we're not supposed to fail. We're not supposed to teach our students to fail. However, this is a safe place to learn about being an entrepreneur because some of that involves failure, and that involves risk-taking. So we're not afraid to take risks with our Georgia Tech students. However, we provide a foundation for them. Oops, I think I touched the button I wasn't supposed to touch.
Well, touch it again.
So I won't hover on this slide, but I just wanted to show that there's a lot of resources and a lot of methods in which we train these students. And so what's really nice is the local and regional entrepreneurial ecosystem. There's a lot of people who want to help our students move along. And so I wanted to bring in I-Corps. So you'll hear sprinkles of I-Corps throughout. And what this is really a framework developed by the National Science Foundation because they asked the question, why do startups fail? And so they wanted to dial it back and to teach initially academics. How do you take your concept, take an idea, and start to ask questions about it? And the focus isn't on creating the most dramatic product, but it's on teaching academics how to ask questions, do customer discovery, think about developing a business model. And so what we're doing now is looking at it through an NIH lens, which may be very applicable in this domain. How do you do that with NIH and translational researchers? And so the ACTSI is also taking a lead in developing a program here for our local ecosystem. And I think I'm done.
Thanks, Pam. And Bob, I think we're going without slides with you.
Oh,
so-
yeah, we're going solo.
Good.
Well, at the University of Georgia, we've been working on an entrepreneurship program for a very long time. I think we're in our second semester. So on the academic side, there's always been a lot of entrepreneurial activity at UGA. It's a very large organization with tons of things going on. In the biobusiness area, we've had the biobusiness incubator that's been around since 2000. Currently has about 30 companies in different stages of development in the Biobusiness Center. That's now wrapped up into what we call our Innovation Gateway, which includes tech transfer. So recently, there's been a real effort in the life sciences area to push forward entrepreneurship, focus on companies, and try to move things forward in terms of getting ideas out of the lab and commercialized and up and running. On the university as a whole, the provost set out to set up a program in entrepreneurship, and that started back during the summer when I came on board. And so what we've done is academically we've created a university-wide certificate in entrepreneurship. And the reason we did a certificate was you didn't have to be in a specific college for a major or minor. The program is open to any student anywhere in the university. And that's at the undergraduate level. We're now implementing a graduate level certificate program so we can bring master's students or doctoral students from any college or university, bring them together and teach courses in entrepreneurship and help them get their ideas off and running. In association with the academic component of trying to teach entrepreneurship, and I think everyone up here, I mean, I didn't learn anything from Charlie. I think I missed out. But I think we'll all agree that entrepreneurship is something that's difficult to teach. It's hard to teach someone how to take a risk or how to know not to do something or to do something. I mean, entrepreneurship is almost something you have to learn. So we try to do that by bringing in speakers onto campus and exposing our students to as many people who have actually gone out there and started companies as we can, because anyone in this room that started a company, you know you pay tuition. And it's just a matter of how much you're going to pay and if that tuition sinks you or not as you go along the way. And so what we all know is that we learn so much more from our failures than our successes. And so having people in the room that have done real-world startups and having them talk about not only their successes, what went right, but also what went wrong, really helps a lot in terms of giving students real-world exposure to what it means to be an entrepreneur. To promote getting companies up and running, there are two driving motivators in life, sex and greed. Now, as a university, we can't do much about the sex part, but we certainly can look at greed. So, what we've done is we've set up what we call our UGA Innovation Fund, where we have gotten alumni to put up dollars, and we will fund ideas from students or faculty, $1,000 to $5,000 grants to help get their idea off the ground and up and running. This has been very successful. We run an accelerator program every semester where it's like a boot camp for capitalism, and we'll bring companies or students and their ideas into our accelerator program and really push them hard to do customer discovery, figure out, do they have a hobby, do they have a real business, is it scalable, is it something that'll generate enough economic benefit so they can, pay themselves a salary and hire people. Just really run them through that. And then at the end of the accelerator program, we'll bring in a group of entrepreneurs and have what we call our demo day. And so the 3 or 4 companies that actually come out at the end of that pipeline will compete, and the winner will get a $5,000 grant to take their company idea and try to move it forward. We've also implemented 2 nationwide pitch competitions. We just finished those up the last 3 weeks. We had colleges, teams coming in from Missouri, Colorado, Massachusetts, as well as every major college and university in Georgia. Gave away prizes, again, funded from the private sector. One prize was $10,000, went to a UGA team. The second prize was $25,000, went to a team from Babson. So bringing in industry people to sponsor those kind of programs, they get benefit of it. They get to talk to students. Students get to meet them. It's internship opportunities, employment opportunities, all sorts of things going on there. We're also looking at the University of Georgia joining I-Corps as an I-Corps site and going through that process right now to really help take ideas out of the laboratory and get them commercialized. Let's see, we have
Hey, Bob.
yes.
Yeah, I couldn't help but recall Ken Mock's slide of the lemmings, and they all think they're going to fly. And it brings to mind this sort of idea of our universities are now trying to teach entrepreneurs, right? We're trying to turn out entrepreneurs. Where are we all honestly with that mode of operation in terms of the odds ratios of success? What are we doing to these young people as they come to university and come for knowledge? Are they going to fly, or are they going to go over the cliff?
Well, some are going to go over the cliff. We
Yeah.
hope some fly. But if you think about it, 50% of all startups fail. And 5 or 6 years out, the number's probably 75%. But if we can teach or help expose people to learn through their payment of tuition and improve that percentage by 2 or 3 percentage points, the economic impact on the state or this region would be tremendous. Just if we can make a 2 or 3% improvement in the number of companies that don't fail but actually do succeed, hire people, and go on to create wealth. And I think that's what we're trying to accomplish is how do we increase that percentage of companies that do end up being successful in the long term.
Yeah, thanks. Nicole?
Yeah, thank you. Perfect, thank you. I wish I knew some really cool lawyer jokes, but I don't. But I'm sure
We all do.
I'm sure the audience. I'm sure the audience can recall. So we'll just go there. I am director of the TIGER program, which stands for Technological.
Technology,
innovation.
energy,
I was
generating
like,
revenue.
what's the I? Generating economic results. It's a partnership between Emory Law and Georgia Tech, our partners down the way. And it's a unique program in the sense that the students work in teams. It's unique because by training, as I'm listening to the comments of the panel and the purpose of today's conference, it's unique in the sense of lawyers aren't trained to be entrepreneurs. So it's very outside of the comfort zone for the law student component of the program, but it's very rewarding for them in the sense of they actually get to see how, if they go into practice, which most of them do, how they can help their clients who are in an early stage company get through some of the barriers. So I will quickly go through the program overview because I feel like most in the room, if not all, you've at least heard of TIGER, and maybe you've sort of heard of it and you're like, is it an animal in a zoo or what is it? So we'll talk about that real briefly. It's an educational program, so we're not really training people to be entrepreneurs per se, but to think about what I'd call the tools for starting a business and how to sort of maximize their chances for success, right? So to your point, we hope they fly, but we recognize, at least from the MBA and JD students involved, they will fly, on an airplane, so to speak. They're going to take a corporate job, and they're going to be supported, not on their own, but through a normal channel. But what we would like to do, in terms of the spirit of this event, is think about ways that we can either have them stay in the Atlanta or Georgia ecosystem in terms of their knowledge and learning and ideas, or at least start a business that stays here. So you've got science and engineering students coming together with professional school students, the law and JD component. Some of the goals, I think really, it's the multidisciplinary training. I think an MBA program, I did not learn from Charlie as well. trained from other institutions, but I feel like I should go across the street and take a class.
It's good fun.
Yeah. We hope that they can, at least the JD students, and I think the PhD students to some degree get a lot of benefit out of the program, learning about business concepts, right? Because if you think about your postdocs and typical PhD researcher, they're very much, blinders on experimental data, and the idea of sort of thinking about intellectual property and, why and who is an inventor and all that kind of stuff is mind-blowing. And it becomes even more challenging when you say, and the university is going to own it, or the company you work for is going to own it. So a lot of the concepts for the science and engineering students are new. The JD students benefit from sort of removing themselves from a very self-centered world of law school and having to work in a team, and your grade and your outcome in the program being dependent on the energies and input from more than just one person. The MBA students get it, but the other two student disciplines struggle a little bit.
Are there any Tiger alum in the room?
Oh, that would be awesome.
Any
Right,
CEOs know this program and or hire people out of this program?
Yeah? Yes? Or question?
Serial entrepreneur on the PIR and ATDC, the technical competitor, and we mentor the Tiger.
Yes. I have a slide on that in a few seconds.
We love them, it's amazing. Some of these students end up running these companies,
Mhm.
raise capital from industry while they're students, and had success. I mentor raise money from a local biotech company, and they're going on to stay with this after they graduate. So it's an amazing program.
Yep.
Great.
Students are really bright, and it's terrific.
I like you.
Great endorsement.
I've got a prize here for you. I did not plant him, I promise. So the goal is really to take technology from the lab to the market. But if you notice, I guess this doesn't have a, oh, it does. All right. So if you notice where we are here, we're just stopping short of a startup, right? So it's really early stage technology, providing tools for them to sort of have a very rigorous process of vetting it, of de-risking it, of thinking about scalability and all those issues that you want. And then you get here and you form a startup if possible after graduation. Here's a slide just covering a little bit on the curriculum. So the first semester is fairly 50-50 business and legal. Because it's early stage technology, because it's new to the world,
We may have
There we
slide
go.
issues, yeah.
it's one of those graphic slides that you gotta keep pressing the button. All right. Because it's early stage technology, the intellectual property concerns are huge in the first semester. So we have them do a risk assessment and secure patent rights, work with the Georgia Tech Transfer Office or the Emory Tech Transfer Office, and make sure that they file or pursue patent protection if that's what's important. And then they can look at more of the market opportunities. So unlike in I-Core, where you do 100 customer discovery interviews, we encourage them to do about 15 to 20. We recognize that this is really a class, one of many classes that most of the graduate students are taking, so 100 interviews might be a lot. But we have had a few Georgia Tech students, through their advisors, participate in I-Core and also Tiger, which sort of enhances the Tiger experience because they've got a ton of data through I-Core in terms of what the market opportunities are for the technology. And then the second year really is sort of a capstone year. So the first year you vet and get a good sense of what your potential for the market potential for the opportunity is. And then the second year, you can further sort of do a deep dive on that. Or if there's some need to pivot, we have them work with companies out of ATDC, and they serve as sort of a consulting team and help manage any of those business issues for the ATDC company. All right. This is sort of what we hope the team experience would be, looking at the integrated research between science and engineering, management, legal. The scientific portion is fairly fixed in the sense that the PhD students are typically third or fourth year students. So they're beyond their initial, what am I doing in grad school question, and they've got somewhat of a clear path in terms of how the research should be directed. But the proof of concept, competitive analysis, and IP work is done, and then there's a ton of market sort of research work that's done. All right. Here's an example of a few of the projects. You know, it's hard to say that the pure pharma drug discovery projects fit well within sort of this 2-year time frame, unless it's fairly advanced. We've had a couple of teams funded by ACTSI, so I want to say thank you for that. But they're more on a medical device or some combination device and therapy kind of project. But a lot of the bioengineering stuff works really well. We've had a lot of success out of computer science and electrical engineering, obviously software components and things like that. The teams are mentored by a legal mentor and a business mentor, so they are given some real-world feedback in terms of what they're thinking about for their efforts. And then, yeah, here's some of the examples of the ATDC Venture Lab projects. And I'm proud to say that the Tiger teams this year took first, second, and third place at the Venture Lab competition like a couple months ago. Yeah, so it's kind of nice. We like having those big, you know, sort of publisher clearinghouse checks, right? We have them all up in the lab. All right, that's pretty much it.
So Nicole, of the alums, what kind of statistics do you have? Have they
Yeah,
stayed
so
here?
the outcomes are here. So a little bit less than 20% go into some official startup capacity. I think I've got some alum companies next. I will say for the JDs.
I mean, that may be a huge percentage compared to the average law student coming out of Emory's Law School or Georgia Tech.
Well, yeah, that's right. That's absolutely right. I don't know, I don't have a good sense of where that metric sits, for example, with other graduates coming out of other Georgia schools, right? Or nationally. So,
Right.
like, I would love to take this statistic and then do a comparison to the Northeast and to the West Coast to see, are we in the middle of the range or really low or about average? And I don't know. So I'll take that as a
James
homework
got
assignment.
How is this funded?
So the PhD students and the business school students from Georgia Tech receive a stipend, and it's funded through Tech. So it's funded through the departments that participate, so electrical engineering. Some of it's funded through grants. So I mentioned ACTSI has supported 2 Tiger students in the past. The good news for me is we don't provide stipends to the JD students, so the funding issue tends to be less of my burden, but it's a shared burden in the sense of the program goes away, you know, my job goes away. But yeah, I don't have to chase dollars from the Emory side, which is really hard. I'm learning. I don't have a lot of money on this campus. All right. Yeah, a lot of the graduates literally go to industry, to be quite frank. They do. I think the PhD student who, through, you know, self-motivation and some good success in terms of market opportunities, will pursue the technology as a potential company. Remember in that first slide where I said it's pre-startup? So there's still a lot of work that needs to happen after graduation. So sometimes they're fortunate enough to get some investing, you know, funds and money, and they'll pursue it for a while, and they won't need as much support from a legal perspective, some business support. And then when they get to a point where now we need to, you know, ink some contracts or do something like that, they can bring in their Tiger student if the Tiger student, the JD student still wants to be involved. So some of the teams have continued, and this is an example of a couple of them. There's a shape memory polymer technology that the PhD student was fortunate actually to basically pick up his research work and move it to UT, which is sad for us it leaves Georgia, but Texas was thrilled with the idea. And they built out this huge lab space for him, and he's continuing to do this work, and he's got about $2 million in outside funding. Another team, I think they are still here. Yep, they're an incubator over at ATDC. So they're doing high-speed graphic processing, so they're local. And then my last example is still here as well. and they got some I-Corps and Angel funding and incorporated a couple of years ago.
So Nicole, I can't help but recall the Mike Cassidy slide of the Charlie Brown Christmas tree.
Yes.
And it only had one ornament on it, but I mean, I feel like that's part of what the community here in Georgia, it was a pointed slide, imagery-wise. You know, we've got these Charlie Brown trees, we've got some ornaments, we've got some of the stuff, but we're still, you know, we're lacking the large broad oak that somebody really grew the industry from, or some significant commercial development. You know, the small startups, the little projects. We've got all those ornaments, but I think we're still looking for that, you know, deep-rooted tree from industry, honestly, from folks in this room. I mean,
That's
CEOs
exactly
of
right.
companies, and, you know, we can only look to the university so much to do training. At the end of the day, we need some companies to create some value. And
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly right. I mean, I think we are doing quite a bit to sort of provide opportunities and to provide training for students, graduate students, undergraduate students especially here in the Atlanta area. But upon graduation, instead of getting a ton of local companies who are like, wow, this is great, I'm super interested, they're recruited outside the state. So I think there's a little bit of a disconnect in the sense that the recruiting forces just don't match up well. And I don't have an answer for that. It's
Yeah.
probably something we should think about, how do we address?